And as we continue along with this great call of Isaiah, God does something to Isaiah. Isaiah has acknowledged his uncleanness in the midst of an unclean people. God's people are not clean. And they cannot clean themselves. God has to do something, and so this burning coal comes and it touches his lips. Now I want us not only to think of unclean lips as perhaps lips that offer blasphemies, perhaps lips that come crudities and swearing, but there is another way in which our lips can be completely unclean before God. It is to take his word and to make his woe a blessing and his blessing irrelevant. In other words, behind all of that, how we speak about God may in fact so be not how God should be spoken of, that our lips become unclean. And I do believe, and ask you to pray about this, that the church, I was going to say our church, I'm going to say the Western church in particular, we need a touch, a cleansing from God. And Isaiah knows that God's touch has taken away his guilt, and that somehow in what God has done, sin has been paid for. That's his experience, so he will be able to preach it. Your sin, my sin, paid for. Then the Lord will speak in those famous words. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? And I said, here I am, send me. And much of our preaching rightly over the years has concentrated on the sending, missionary, evangelistic, prophetic ministry of Jesus, inspired by this prophetic utterance. And that's right. But today, as we look at he has spoken through the prophets, he will speak through lifestyle, and the Lord tells Isaiah something that we would not find encouraging. The Lord tells him that when he goes, his message will not be listened to. It's further than that. His message will be rejected even by the very people who should know better. So rejection is written large into prophetic ministry. Now let us be careful. Many of the prophets, think of Jonah. Think of why he got upset. They spoke, or he spoke, a pagan nation responded. So we cannot use the excuse of, well, nobody's listening to me, and call it prophetic. It may just be that we need to learn to speak more accurately in the power of the Spirit. But nevertheless, he has spoken through the prophets, and he's spoken about his kingdom, and it's a kingdom that is rejected. All prophets point to the first and the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ. In the first coming of Jesus, Jesus, it is said, is rejected. The great story of Christmas in John's Gospel. He came to his own, and his own received him not. What does this have to say to us today? We need to prophesy. We need to speak God's words. But the outcome in the fruit is in the hand and the ongoing mouth of God as he speaks.